Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the SAC Podcast. I know it's been a minute for everybody, but I'm Ray's, a familiar face, joined here by maybe a not-so-familiar face.
A little bit familiar.
Slightly familiar.
Yeah.
So.
Hi, my name is Skepidillions. I'm really excited to be hosting this podcast with you, Rays.
Yeah, hopefully it should be a good time. I apologize for some of the technical delays that have caused us to start a little bit late.
A little.
However, a little late. However, now that we're here, we can finally talk about what's going on with SAC and preview Tournament 1 and catch everyone up to date on what's going on with SAC, both in front of the curtain and maybe behind it, potentially. So...
Devious. So it's the 8th season of SAC, the circuit that you know and love, the only one, if I recall correctly. Last time that we had a little doohickey of a podcast was season 6, so there have been some changes in terms of not just the game that we're playing, but also how we run SAC as a tournament, and our format.
Yeah, so let's touch on season 7, because like you said, we didn't have any coverage of it on the podcast, and let's just touch on the winner, maybe recognize them again, little hat tip, if you will.
Sweet Tooth won SAC season 7 in a very glorious run. They were defeated in winners semifinals by Octopi, and I believe Octopi took that 3-0. However, they came back in a loser's bracket run and not only took Octopi out of the grand final spot 3-1 in their initial set, but then took it to a bracket reset and won that in a very clean 3-0. Octopi, a face that we will be seeing come back again for at least qualifier 1 of season 8.
Yeah, so hats off to Sweet Tooth for winning last season, and it looks like Octopi could come back and win this first tournament, and we'll talk about that more later. But first, it's probably better to tee up season 8 a little bit.
Yeah.
So what's going on with season 8? What's been happening in the off season? What are the changes? What's been the moving and shaking?
Between season 6 and season 7, there were a couple of rule changes regarding how one can finish strongly out of the qualifiers and end up making finals. Previously, you might remember, SAC ran off of a point system, and the teams that got the most points went to a top 8 double elimination bracket for finals. That did change with season 7. Instead of being top 8, it was made top 12. And the winner of every qualifier for season 7 was put into finals automatically and was given a round 1 bye. Second place made finals as well, but third place was decided based off of a hybrid point system throughout all of the qualifiers to see who would be the third seeds in throughout the bracket. That system will be returning back for season 8. So the winner of each of the qualifiers guaranteed a round 1 bye in finals. Second place is going to have to fight for it in that round 1, but if you play consistently throughout the entirety of all 4 qualifiers, there's still a very good chance that you can make finals.
Yeah, interesting. So another thing to kind of touch on, and something that I saw when I was reading the rules, was, I think you posted it on Twitter, or I think I saw it on Twitter somewhere, was because of Ludi brackets coming out tomorrow, or supposedly coming out tomorrow during the tournament, eligibility might change partway through the season. And I'm curious, and I'm sure there are at least a few other people curious at home, what was the thought process behind that decision?
So, SAC staff did have a little bit of a buffer when we found out about Ludi Season 14. I think me and the other head, Toby, found out maybe 5 days before everybody else. Obviously, that meant that operating off of Ludi Season 13, when I think we all agree 2 months after Ludi that those seeds are outdated, let alone into the next season, we have decided to operate primarily off of Ludi Season 14 divisions. Obviously, Qualifier 1 is starting the day those divisions are released. Supposedly. So Ludi Qualifier 1 will operate, SAC Qualifier
1.
SAC Qualifier 1 will operate based off of Ludi Season 13 divisions and how you were seeded in terms of eligibility. Also, Sendo Q has changed up the environment a little bit because of the fact that the Sendo Q season ends in mid-November, the current Sendo Q season. And you can make +2 via Sendo Q, which also makes you SAC ineligible. So unlike previous seasons of SAC, if you were eligible at the start of the season, you are eligible throughout the entirety of the season. Eligibility will be reviewed throughout each qualifier based off of Qualifier 1, Ludi Season 13. Qualifier 2 onward, Season 14. And then when those Sendo Q results come out, and if you make +2, you are ineligible from that point forward. However, here's the kicker. If you make finals after Qualifier 1, if you get that first place seed, if you get that second place placement, you are still eligible for finals. So there are teams that are playing Qualifier 1 that maybe should be a little bit suspect of where they might end up being seeded in Ludi Season 14, and maybe are the type of players that could possibly end up in +2 with Sendo Q. Those teams really have to make sure that they make it to finals in this first qualifier.
Yeah. So kind of a follow-up question that I personally have for that. How, when you're thinking about making that eligibility rule, because I wasn't super involved in that discussion, how did the rest of the TOs imagine that would go in terms of team turnarounds? Like teams playing in qualifier 1 and 2 who are now ineligible to play in 3 for 4 or qualifiers 3 and 4 because of Ludi divisions coming out and send out Q season ending. Is that just a byproduct of we set our dates, we don't want to change it now, we can't and we can't plan for these things?
Yeah.
Like, how much thought went into that decision?
I would say a fair amount. We TOs are given a series of challenges, and we have to best figure out answers to these challenges. Like I said, our dates for SAC were picked in August. As Ludi Season 14 was announced mid-September, early September. But by the time we had our dates picked out, it was, do we completely ignore the fact that we're running over Ludi Season 14? Do we reschedule the entire season? And if we stick with these dates, how do we incorporate Ludi Season 14 into this? Also, Sendo Q, like I mentioned, has really changed the game in terms of how top level of our community operates. We do the best we can. If you think you're finals material, which if you're getting Div 1 and if you're getting +2 in Sendo Q, you are finals material, prove it. Pull up. And then if you need practice against the other teams that end up making finals, you better be watching their streams or trying to scrim them. It's equal practice opportunities these days, especially with Sendo Q.
Yeah. So one thing that I thought about just right now, do you worry, or was there any consideration for the fact that using the send out queue resources makes mid-level teams less likely to want to play in it because now they can't risk getting that +2 or that +1? Or do you think that's not a problem because they value +2 and +1 higher than playing in SAC?
Oh yeah, are you kidding? I don't think people are gonna stop playing Sendo Q. I will tell you from personal experience, the last time I scheduled a scrim was before Sendo Q Season 1. Teams are either going to go through the work of scheduling scrims and avoiding Sendo Q, which is inherently more work, or they are going to play Sendo Q, which is less work significantly. I don't see people throwing in Sendo Q to maintain SAC eligibility. That seems a little kooky to me. If you're good enough for +2, you want +2.
Fair enough. I just, came up with a question, thought it might lead to an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
So
if you're throwing Incendo Q for SAC eligibility, I have some questions about why you're playing in SAC.
I mean, hey, you know, the straw man has to get thrown up sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
I believe we were talking earlier on before we went live that there were a couple of other rule changes since season 7, one of which being the substitution requirements and exceptions and all that. So what are the new details on substitutions and stuff like that?
This is actually huge. Because SAC is a skill capped event, just like Low Ink, you had to apply to be a sub. But Low Ink is a 2-day event that happens once a month versus SAC is a bi-weekly that happens over the course of 2.5 to 3 months. You used to have to apply to be a sub. Now you no longer have to. You either have to apply to be a sub or you have to have played in this season of SAC and thus proven your eligibility, +2 results and Ludi divisions withstanding, or non-withstanding. So if you play in SAC, you don't end up in +2. You don't get Div 1 in Ludi season 14. If you play Qualifier 1, you are eligible to be a sub for any team throughout the remainder of the SAC season.
So unlike the teams, well, actually. No, I was gonna say, so unlike the teams, if you're a sub in at the beginning of the season, you would persist, or you would be eligible to sub for the entire season after that. But then I realized you already covered that, and yeah.
Good point to make. Like, you don't get to, if your team gets disqualified because of your Ludi division and someone gets +2, you're still ineligible with or without your team. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I think probably the next most interesting thing to talk about is the map pool. So, and the decisions that led into coming up with the map pool. Okay, production sent it back to camera while we talked, and they tried to fix the problem. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about that map pool and some of the potentially interesting decisions that got made for it. I know in the past, SAC has had maps that could only be picked when counter picking. That appears as if it's no longer the case.
It is no longer the case. 1 second while I move this map list to somewhere more visible. Okay. Hi, my name is Skepidillions, and I designed the map list for your complaints.
Oh no!
You can send it to me! So, that being said, this is our map list, and you're probably wondering, Skepidillions, dear goodness gracious, why on earth some of these maps? And I swear to goodness that I used data. Very recently, ProChara, I'm sure that's a name that you've heard around before, created a community poll with top-level players, and basically to vote on map mode combinations and preferred map list size. That data was used in the vast majority of the creation of this map list. There are some interesting map mode choices that you're going to see here. Particularly a map that I personally dislike, Splat Zone's Mahi. You may be wondering, Skepidillions, why would you do this to us? Because 14 out of 15 players polled in top level thought that Splat Zone's Mahi was a redeemable map. The goal of SAC is to prepare ourselves for top level, therefore we play what top level plays.
You answered the question I had before I asked it, which is fantastic. Because I was gonna ask, why listen to top level? All right, I think personally, the more fun things to discuss would be
Yeah.
Crab Leg and Ship Shape. The two maps added this season that people may or may not be familiar with yet. I know there were a couple teams who played in Riptide, who practiced for Riptide, who didn't get a chance to play the map until Super Jump, which was, last weekend?
Yeah.
So, what are your initial thoughts on the maps, and then how do you think that's going to affect the outcome of SAC, moving forward?
In my opinion, which my opinion is my opinion, and is not necessarily the opinion of my org or SAC in general. In my humble opinion, Crab Leg and Ship Shape are the best maps that they've ever added to the game. All of those maps, all 4 modes, were voted to be good by this top level community poll that I'm referencing. Obviously, there would be a point in which we can't run 4 modes on the same maps, so I did make the decision to use the two modes per map that were selected by the Super Jump staff. Obviously, there were holes in this map list from the poll and the data that I had been given, in which all of Mako was voted to be good. Well, we can't run 4 modes in Mako. That's not balanced. So in those cases in which a map was overrepresented in that survey, I did supplement with the Super Jump map pool.
So
it is
a combination.
A combination of TO study and community survey. I didn't do anything regarding the Super Jump map pool, however, I know how much work and research went into Crab Leg and Ship Shape and how those modes are played in particular, so I did defer to the research conducted by those TOs.
Yeah, that is definitely a good thing. I will say, I'm really interested to see Mahi Zones. You touched on it earlier, I kind of want to go back around to it, because I think, personally, as someone... I do coaching on the side for people who might not know. I find it very interesting to look at how teams play maps, and I'm very interested to see how competition develops on Mahi Zones, because it hasn't really seen any time in the competitive spotlight.
Yeah,
and it basically, as soon as it came out, it was deemed non-viable because of the layout when the water went up versus when the water went down. And now it appears as if some people went back and played it and was like, hold on a second, maybe there's some sauce here, let them cook. And I'm interested to see that now that with the opportunity to cook what develops, and potentially seeing some spice in more map lists.
Right. Something that, when I saw Splat Zones Mahi had the highest approval rating out of any map mode in the community poll, I was like, surely they're trolling. Surely this is sample bias, because these are all friends of Prochara, and Prochara is a known Splat Zones Mahi enthusiast. Surely this is friend group, social group overrepresentation. I reached out to my top level friends, my upper mid level friends, who was like, what do you think about this? And some of my friends were like, no, you're crazy. But then after re-engaging with the participants of the map pool survey and asking them why they thought it was good, and then also reaching out to respected players like Kyo, who did not participate in this survey, hey, what do you think about Splat Zones Mahi and why? And he was like, it's good and here's why. What really excites me about this map list is that it is a combination of the open... we want to paint to get special maps, which Crab Leg and Ship Shape, arguably, I would consider those to be, as well as the classic Splatoon 2 maps like Mako and Inkblot. We know we love those. However, that doesn't mean that Splatoon 3's hallway maps, as we love to call them, or the Tetris piece maps, are inherently bad. We got Barnacle, we got Mahi, these things that many people consider to be a flaw in the game are now just a different type of map to be playing, and that excites me a lot.
Yeah, and we could probably talk for hours and hours and hours about Tetris block maps and stuff like that, but we should probably wrap this up and move along and talk about something that I think chat will find a little more engaging. Teams.
Oh my gosh.
I know you've been doing a lot of research.
Yeah.
And I know you brought back the commentary document.
Yeah.
And to kind of segue into that, you made the well, maybe not you specifically, but SAC made the commentary doc a mandatory requirement for sign up this year.
Yeah.
What's the thought process behind that? And then is it coming together like you hope?
Okay, so some of you who have been around for a little bit longer might remember me strolling into your DMs with a series of questions and that you had the answer. Back then, believe it or not, answering my questions was not mandatory, as much as I wished it would have been. The commentary doc being mandatory was part of the contingency of me becoming a head TM for SAC. Is I walked into the room and I was like, if I'm gonna take this on, this is what I want to see done and why. Why, Raze? SAC is a circuit, which inherently presents unique storytelling opportunities, and that eligibility changing over the season, teams are going to face each other more than once. There's going to be rematches between teams, and those were highlighted. I know the doc was never made public, but those were highlighted in the Season 6 doc, which allowed commentators to really explore the rivalries between these two teams, see and examine their personalities. And something that I think SAC can do very differently is not just stream these teams, but make the stream about these teams. I really want to be able to take an opportunity to lift up the branding of some of these teams and to be able to show the skill of our commentators, the best ones that we have in the scene, when they are given resources. Commentators aren't really giving resources other than their own notes if they manage to put that together, which isn't really something that culturally goes on in our commentary community at this point. I really want to have time to let that talent show. And if teams are spotlighted and we elevate their branding, oh boy, that looks really nice to some sponsors, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. These are the kinds of things and these creative liberties that we can take as a circuit that, in my opinion, no other tournament is really as equipped to do.
Yeah. So the kind of, to water it, well, not water it down, to condense it.
Yeah.
The reason the SAC doc has become mandatory is because we want to assemble that information for commentators and analysts and give them the opportunity to better convey the stories of teams. Teams are made up of 4 or 5 or 6 individuals, and we want to know as much as we can about those individuals. That way, when they actually come onto a broadcast, we can show that they're individuals. It's not just a T-Tech and an NZAP and a Charger who are all playing together. It's a team, a group of people who have come together because they like playing competitive Splatoon and they want to do the best they can.
I want to showcase their silly quotes, their hobbies outside of Splatoon, things that really give teams personality. Something that really, and it makes the broadcast more memorable to these teams as well. Something that you read a quote from my teammate Rush in the previous SAC podcast. I don't know if you remember it. But we sure did for a long time. We would reference that. We would be like, remember SAC, the podcast was so cool. And we really felt a part of it, even if we never made brackets. But it's just you make the I don't want SAC to just be another tournament that has teams playing in it. I really, my vision for this and my passion project, which is why I spent 3 months assembling that initial commentary doc. 3 months! Is just to talk about these freaking teams. Stick together, don't disband, play SAC!
Speaking about teams, you know, let's actually lead into Tournament 1 a little bit. Of the people signed up right now, or who are in the commentary document that I'm looking at right now, that's why I just got a lot brighter, Chaz, because I opened a light mode document. Forgive me.
I'm sorry. Google Docs does not have Deck Note. I tried.
Who are the teams who you're really excited to see come out strong? Like the person at the top of the document, who I'll reserve the right to talk about first, Octopi. Okay. They got second last season, and they're coming back, and they've been doing well in tournaments.
That they have.
This is one of the teams that I'm excited about because I'm personally a sucker for the old guard versus new young gun. I like that. I like having it maybe not a known quantity, but someone who has a relationship with the event previously. Yeah, exactly. So this is one of the teams that I'm really excited to see, even if they might not last that long because of the previously laid out eligibility updating after tournament 1.
We'll see. Just to be clear, neither Raze nor I have insider information about where teams will be seated. That is under lock and key. We do not have that key. That being said, Octopi has been taking some names. They got first in paddling pool, 229, which I don't. What do you even say about that? Just hats off to you. Not only that, but the roster is different than SAC Season 7. Since then, they have added Lemon, Luna, and Gus. Both are very respectable upper mid-level players, skirting on high level. They're definitely a team that you want to watch. Teams like Octopi. In addition, something that made Octopi very unique for Season 7 was the fact that they didn't even qualify for finals. They made it into finals because of drops within top 12. And ended up going on to nearly take the whole tournament. That is just a beautiful story to me. I can't wait to see what they do, and we'll see if they retain eligibility, but if they don't, they have to get that done in Qualifier 1.
So, all right, I kind of went out on a limb and went through my favorite team. Of the 11 teams that we currently have in the commentary document that I can look at and reference, who is your next favorite team? Or who's the person who stands out the most to you? What's the team?
Orca Balestra.
Okay.
So excited about Orca Balestra. Acropora used to scrim them back in the day, and there was a point where we were even, and then there was just all of a sudden overnight, it was a completely uphill battle. It just completely changed overnight. They're a team that I really think more people should be aware of. I know that they are, and when I asked teams which teams are you looking out for, Orca Balestra was one of those top names. They have some really, really interesting results there, Raves.
They do. I was just taking a look at that. 3-0 Take Your Meds, 2-0 Rabid, 2-1 pickup made up of Zenith, Mr. Z, Martinulo, and Eldir. Mm-hmm. Those are some strong results.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you. Coming into this season, they're a team that has a lot of potential to just wipe the floor with people if they're not careful.
Oh yeah, they will. And my prediction for finals for Qualifier 1 is Orca Balestra, Octopi, or Velocity. Any combination of those three, I'll be like, yeah. I saw that coming.
I just looked at the Orca Balestra funny quotes, just for reference, and one of them is 03 check-in button.
I'm gonna start using that. I'm gonna be so real.
Yeah, whenever, and that's one of the things that I might take from them too. It just whenever I see a team not show up, just wow, they really lost the 03 to the check-in button. Or it's when I think it was at Riptide, I was like, wow, this buy team, they're not doing great. They keep getting losses 03. I don't know. Someone might need to check in on them, make sure they're doing okay.
Yeah. That's another thing about these quotes is I want the commentators to be able to reference these quotes and talk about them. One of them is at Femi 325 times. I want to hear Femi coming out from those commentators.
Okay. I feel like I speak for chat when I say this. Do not.
Why?
It's actually no. I think I might speak for the producer more, because the commentator might find it funny, and chat might find it funny.
Times just for like when they get a good push, just.
See, but the problem, because in my head now I'm thinking about the TTS donations where it's just like oh. Please don't. Please don't. No. We're not going to.
Alright, speaking of old guard versus new guard, Skep versus Raze, whose side are you taking here?
No.
Another team.
Go, go.
Yeah, another team I wanna keep an eye on is Mirror Illusion, formerly known as Dark Masters, which I did speak to their captain, and they agree that is a very cringe name, which is why they changed it. Something that I really like about Mirror Illusion is that they have played in every single SOS since they formed. And you can see the progression in their results. They start going from Hammerhead, skirting into occasional Great White, Hammerhead, a round 1 elimination, Great White, Hammerhead, round 1 elimination, and then it's just boom, Great White, top of the Hammerhead bracket. Just you see the elevation in the results. You see 2-0 Sanctuary, 2-1 Helios, 2-1 Sequoia, taking games off of members of +3. That to me is just like, I expect Mirror Illusion, given their voracious tournament record, to come out to all four of our qualifiers and really make a name for themselves.
Yeah, like it's also like, again, for reference, for people who can't see it, who don't do commentary, they have that's not even a half page. That's more like a page of results.
Yeah.
Of just placements. Where, because Skep basically just read all of those off.
Yeah.
It's a little daunting to look at, but that's awesome. That's so cool. Because one of the things is that brings them, they have a lot of tournament experience, which means when they're put in these clutch situations, these game 3s, games 5s, game 7s maybe, they're not going to break. Been here, done it, let's do it again. Except better than the last time, because they're constantly learning. Like you said, they're constantly improving. Their placements are getting better, and that excites me. That excites me a lot.
High pressure matches. I think we've all been in tournaments and been playing and really giving it all of our chests, and then just tired. All of a sudden, you're just hit with a wave of fatigue. And the reality is when you play more tournaments and you have to deal with those high pressure and high stress situations, the more stamina you have to maintain what is optimal to you and your team for longer. And that's why teams like Dark Masters scare me.
Mm-hmm. Also, I just looked at the funny quotes, and then at the anything else you wish to share, and in one section they did, are there any other teams you're looking out for this season? Nope. No. Nobody.
Not applicable.
And then in the you can write in anything here, they just did "we are goated" sunglasses smiling emoji.
Yeah.
There is some confidence here.
Yeah.
And
you should be scared of that.
like I said, I'm here for it. There's part of me that wants to see the fall from grace in qualifier 1 before they hit the upswing in 2, 3, and 4 to win it all. That would be really cool. But there's also part of me that just wants to see them in the bravado just walk in and own it.
Yeah.
And just we know we're good. We have the results. We're confident. And it's one of those things where narratively, we can't lose, because if the team loses, which would be unfortunate, now we can do a rise from the ashes type story. But if they keep going, we can say, this team knows what they're doing. They're coming in. They're confident. Can anyone knock that confidence out of them? Can you shatter the bravado that they bring? And that's really cool.
You are missing one really good point about this team race.
What's that?
5th Great White, 3rd Great White, later half of the brackets. Okay, they are going and they are living, but they are not sealing the deal. SAC, that third seed, you didn't get first, you didn't get second. That the last 4 players, the wild card positions, are determined by points based off of your point standings throughout the season. So teams like Dark Masters, that we see them get to the edge of the brackets but don't close it out, are very likely candidates for those wildcard placements.
There's a little cushion here for them.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Also, again, something else you pointed out, they haven't been able to seal the deal in SOS. Mm-hmm. Maybe they seal the deal in SAC. Because that pickup that they just couldn't quite get over the edge on, maybe they do it this time.
Yeah.
That's the other narrative. Like, or maybe they're able to upset Orca Ballestra in finals, or maybe they're able to upset Octopi. There's some really exciting opportunities here with this team.
Yeah,
and
I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. All right.
Is there anybody else you want to take a look at?
I looked all the way down at the bottom to fish at 7-Eleven for a second because I thought it might be Kraken. And then I realized Kraken would never play with anyone except Triggerfish Zone Supremacy.
Yeah.
But that being said, now that I've said the name, we have to talk about them at least a little bit. Otherwise, we would be doing them a disservice.
Yes.
So, the roster is Gabe, Star Luigi, Gizmo, and Donfu? Did I say that right?
I think it's Donuff.
Donuff?
There's no U at the end there.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, Donuff.
Donuff.
I'm looking at very meta comp right here. I'm looking at Ludi pickup. I'm looking at ballpoint zap Tetra shot. Meta.
The one interesting thing.
But they all list one weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, the one interesting thing, ban ship shape. So we could talk about maps, or the interesting thing is I'm curious why they want to ban ship shape, because I think their comp, ballpoint, zap,
it looks
Tetra,
pretty good
shot,
on there.
It does look pretty good on it. So now this begs the question for me: are they just ship shape haters, or is
maybe
what am I missing here?
It does have like a pink overcast. Maybe they just don't like it.
Or it could be all of the ramps. Yeah. You know, some of their weapons aren't good firing uphill or downhill. So, you know, maybe it's that. You never know. But if they play ship shape, or if there's a round where ship shape gets played and we can put them on stream, I think we should put them on stream.
I think we should.
I'm gonna be a little bit sadistic. I'm sorry. But I think it would be interesting.
I love how I asked teams what is your best maps? What maps do you look forward to playing? What maps do you not like playing and why? And some teams wrote me 3 paragraphs and thoroughly answered all of the questions. And then some teams were just Mako zones. What about Mako zones? Tell me.
And that also leads into kind of the type of team they are. Because again, this is you want to play Ludi? Sure, let's do it. They're a little. It reads a little more laid back, where they're here for a good time, maybe not for a long time, but they're just here to have fun, enjoy the ride. Maybe be cliche, make some friends along the way. Maybe write a twit longer eventually. Who knows?
Raise.
It happens. I'm sorry. It was right there.
But then we have to review them, Race. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the first message I see in the morning being a twit longer, Race.
Don't worry. It won't be. Hopefully. No, you hear that, chat? No twit longers.
All right. And the last team I want to talk about, Race, as we close up the deal, are the cookie run enjoyers known as eggshells.
Oh, okay. I was like, cookie run enjoyers? We don't have anyone by that name.
You should read the highlighted sections, Raze.
Well, no, and then I did when you said the name because I could get it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so for someone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
What's
We're
Cookie
talking about
Run?
Eggshells. I don't know what Cookie Run is. I know that Eggshells likes it. I know
Hold
that you
on,
collect
alright.
little cookies that look like Disney princesses.
Not me looking it up right now live.
Now I have to look it up too.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it a puzzle
Okay, what
game?
is
It sounds like
this?
it's a puzzle game.
I don't know. None of these pictures are helpful.
No, none of them are. It looks like a card game, maybe? I don't know what this is.
Endless running game. Oh, so like
Oh, it's like a
Temple Run, but with cookies.
Yes, and you fight.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Okay.
All right. You know what? I can get behind that. That's fine.
Yeah, it looks fun.
Yeah. That gets the thumbs up from me.
Yeah. They formed in August. They have some pretty good results on this page. 2-0 la 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 la, which is also playing in SAC Qualifier 1 Season 8. 3-0 Wipeout Pokes. I think that should be a very familiar name. They took a game off Sequoia in a set, and they've made Great White Bracket twice. So we're looking at another team that is deserving of being in mid-level and wanting to make a name for themselves. That excites me. They also have a very funny quote. Blood orange.
What?
Just one of their quotes. Apparently they find the phrase blood orange funny. I don't know why, but they do.
Wait, one that I think is infinitely funnier that we could throw out there is, why is playing Splash so fun? Robot emoji.
Yeah. And
I think that's so much funnier than Blood Orange, but I also don't have the context.
Even
better.
Yuma deserves to be belittled. Wait, go ahead, Race.
I was gonna say the Blood Orange, also BB, and then in parentheses, she finds this funny, but no one knows why. So even the team themselves don't know why it's funny, but it still made it in. So, are we gonna solve the mystery of why Blood Orange is funny this season?
Who knows? Find out this season on SAC.
Alright. Moving off the funny quotes for a minute, something that I find very interesting about their team.
Yeah.
They have Red, who plays leader and charger.
Yeah. Ooh. I know where you're going.
The meta hasn't lent itself very well to those weapons in a little bit. However, there's still players grinding charger, and I have a soft spot for charger. In Splatoon 1, when I was like starting competitive, I was a charger player. It was like, I loved it. It was great.
Raise the charger player?
Yeah, but then they also have 2 V-shots on their team.
Mm-hmm.
So the bane of charger's existence being 2 V-shots on a team with a charger. And
they actually have 3 V-shots on their team.
Potentially 3.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what happened. Like, did this team have a villain arc or something? Like,
I was gonna say Stockholm Syndrome, probably.
Nah, I don't know. But the combination of leader and charger with a bunch of Trizukas is so much long-range pressure that teams who aren't prepared for it might find it overwhelming because they can't even begin to close distance on it. Because, like, how do you approach a constant Trizuka with a leader?
Yeah.
Because then if you approach the leader, Inkmine, Wavebreaker, it could be a very, very strong combo.
We'll find out. I'll tell you about these teams that filled out the commentary doc early. I'm looking at them for stream tomorrow more affectionately. So maybe we'll see, Raze.
Yeah. So it's very exciting. It's very exciting. We should probably... What? Go ahead.
I was gonna say they don't like Manta, and apparently they really like Shipshape. So I'm looking at this matchup between Fish 7-Eleven and it.
I feel like that's almost too sadistic. Because, like, the eggshell comp is not going to be fun to play on Shipshape, like, versus.
Yeah. No,
against a
I'll
team
spare
who
Fish
already doesn't
11.
like shipshape. I don't know.
Spare-
That feels like going too far.
Raise the merciful. We'll see how groups shake up. You know, to
Like-
see where the seeds lie.
Well, like, and there's a point where we couldn't avoid it anymore if it happened. Like, if it happened in,
Yeah.
like, finals or semifinals or something like that, we can't do anything to avoid that. However, in, like, group stage, like, calling them out like that, I feel like would just be, like, maybe not too far, but, like, eyebrow raising.
You know, but here's the thing is, the commentators and STOs looking at this doc know which map modes a team is more likely to counterpick. Their
True.
opponents don't have that information. That's very
well,
exciting.
unless we blast it out on stream like this. Like,
no comment, Rays.
you know what? We might have to double think this idea.
No, here's the thing. If you're a faithful watcher of the SAC podcast, you might get some useful information on one of the 30 teams you might face.
Okay. Oh, like, let's not call them dirty. Come on now. Let's have a little respect.
Oh,
Come
I
on.
said 30, Rays.
30. Okay, sorry. My bad.
I would never.
You would never. Absolutely not. Surely. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm laughing. It wasn't really that funny, but
It's my laughter is contagious, Rays. I apologize.
fair. You know what? I can't even really argue that point. But
Yeah.
do we have any other teams we want to call out before we start looking to wind down?
No, I think I'm ready for a wind down. Let's see if there's any more funny quotes.
So while you're looking for funny quotes, I'll do a little bit of shilling. How about that?
Yeah, I love this plan.
Yeah, so now that we're looking to wrap it up, please be sure to follow IPL here on Twitch or go to the IPL YouTube channel. Please go watch VODs.
Please,
Enjoy
go
our
to
content
YouTube.
after the fact. We have people, Jordanian, doing a fantastic job getting VODs up in a timely manner, timestamping them, crediting commentators. Like, it's, if you haven't been to the IPL YouTube channel recently,
Oh.
please
It's
go take a
changed
look,
a lot.
subscribe, turn notifications on, do all that fun stuff. We're trying to get the metrics to monetize the YouTube channel so IPL can start paying the people who do the wonderful work for these events. And we would really appreciate it if you would support us on those platforms. Follow us on Twitter at IPL Splatoon. And just... there is also an IPL Patreon that we are going to be looking at revamping. So look for IPL Splatoon on Patreon. Consider pledging, with more news on that to come in the future.
This is something I didn't even know that we were planning on reviving the Patreon race.
Hey, that's the real that's only for the people who are in the room where it happens, you know?
What the heck?
So, did you find any more funny quotes?
No, I'm vibing Rays. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. There was never a public announcement like there was with SOS, but it's my first time as the head of SAC running a qualifier. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited to see what trouble we can get into.
So, a couple more housekeeping things.
Yes.
Calendars. Qualifier 1 is tomorrow, September 30th. Yeah. Qualifier 2 is on October 14th. Mark that off on your calendar. There will be a podcast the day before that, just like there was a podcast the day before Qualifier 1. Qualifier 3 is going to be on October 28th. Plan to sign up for that, please. Like I said, podcast immediately preceding that on Friday. And then Qualifier 4, November 11th.
That one might change.
That one might change?
That one might change. No comment other than that. The fourth qualifier, you have plenty of notice, don't worry. The fourth qualifier, the date for that is subject to negotiation.
Mm-hmm. Is it? Can I say the finals date, or is that still?
The finals date would be the same. I believe we haven't had that discussion yet.
All right, I'll leave that for now. We could talk about that next time if it's more firmly locked in. But quick reminder, Qualifier 2, October 14th, and Qualifier 3 on October 28th. Mark those off on your calendars. SAC, if you're not playing, watch. If you're not doing anything on that Saturday afternoon, we here at IPL would appreciate it.
Well, I think that's it for us, Rays. Thank you for coming back for the podcast this season. I really appreciate it. I loved watching the podcast for season 6, and now I get to host it with you. So that's really cool.
Yeah. So I think if all is said and done, it's time for us to sign off and give the IPL Twitch channel to Proving Grounds, which will be going on later this evening. So
in 30 minutes, gamers. Don't go too far. Proving Grounds would love to have you here. I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you for tuning in, and stay fresh.